So this was a pop quiz 2, which was related to acid, base, and salt. In the first question, solid sodium hydroxide, which is a base, which can dissolve to form an aqueous solution of sodium hydroxide. The definition of it is also known as an alkali because soluble bases are known as alkalis. What is meant by the term base? The standard definition of a base. As we know, the standard definition of acids are proton donor. So what is the standard definition of a base? Base is a proton acceptor. So a substance which accept proton, we call that as a base. And substance which donate proton, we call that as acid. State the term given to a base which dissolve to form an aqueous solution. So what we call base, which is water soluble. So we call that as alkali. So all alkalis are bases, but all bases are not alkalis. Like it's not like all the bases will dissolve, but some will dissolve. We call them as alkali. State the color of thymol pathylene in sodium hydroxide, the alkaline solution. So thymol pathylene is having different color. If it is in acidic, if it's in acidic condition or acidic solution, it does not have any color, colorless. But in alkaline condition, it will be blue. So answer you have to write here, that will be blue in color. The next is complete a word equation for reaction of sodium hydroxide with ammonium salt. So whenever we have ammonium salt and alkali is added, so it will turn into another salt plus ammonia plus water. So which salt it will form? Like example, sodium hydroxide. So as a result, what it will form? It will form sodium chloride. So salt will be sodium chloride. Then ammonia and hydroxide, it will become ammonium hydroxide. But this ammonium hydroxide, it's not a stable compound. It decomposes into what? It decomposes into ammonia and water. So the product is actually what? The product is sodium chloride plus ammonium hydroxide. But ammonium hydroxide, as it's not a stable compound, it will dissociate or break down into ammonia and water. So that's why we also say whenever ammonium salts are reacted with a base or an alkali, as a result, it will give off ammonia gas on heating. In part E, some metal oxide react with sodium hydroxide, alkali. State the term given to a metal oxide which react with a base such as sodium hydroxide. So whenever we have a metal oxide, what are the two possibilities? The metal oxide, it might be basic oxide or it may be amphoteric. What is the characteristic of the basic oxide? Basic oxide can react with acid only, but it cannot react with base. But amphoteric oxide can react with acid and it can react with base. So in this one, they mention here, state the term given to a metal oxides which can react with the bases. So which metal oxides can react with the base? So amphoteric metal oxides can react with base. So amphoteric oxide is the oxide which can react with base as well as acid. But the characteristic here, basic oxide cannot react with base, but amphoteric oxide can react with base. And name a metal oxide which react with sodium. So which metal oxide is there? Example of amphoteric oxide. So you can mention aluminium oxide, or you can also mention zinc oxide. Any one of them. Even lead oxide, you can also mention that as well. Any one of them you will mention as an example. In question 2, what is the definition of a strong acid? First, what is the definition of acids? Acids are proton donor. And what is the meaning of a term strong? Strong means it will ionize or it will dissociate completely. So acids are strong acids means they will donate proton, are proton donors, and they will ionize completely. So first, when we check option A and B, option A and B are why? Because it's written except proton, so that is a definition of a base, but not an acid. When we check option C, proton donors, acids are proton donor, that's right. And that is completely dissociated in aqueous solution. So completely dissociated. So this is actually a definition of a strong acid. Strong acids ionize completely. This is the definition of a weak acid. Weak acids ionize partially. So the correct answer for this one is C. So the term acid means proton donors and strong means it will ionize completely. If it was a weak, then it will dissociate partially. Then D will be the answer. If there was the same question about the weak acid definition, then it will be D. In question 3, which statement about amphoteric oxide is correct? So amphoteric oxide are actually metal oxides which can react with both acid and alkali. They are made by combining acidic oxide with a basic oxide. So if we combine acidic oxide with a basic oxide, so as a result, it will form a neutral. So this is not true. They react with water to give a pH 7. It does because basic oxides, the amphoteric oxides are actually insoluble in water, it does not dissolve. That is a characteristic of amphoteric oxide. So this is again wrong. Like why it's wrong? Because it does not react with here or dissolve in water to give a solution. It does not even dissolve or react. Then they react with both acids and bases. That's true. Amphoteric oxide can react with both acid and base. They don't react with acid and base. That is an example. That is a definition of a neutral oxide. Neutral oxide does not react with acid nor with base. Question 4. Copper 2 carbonate is formed when aqueous sodium carbonate is added to aqueous copper nitrate. And you can see from its ionic equation, you can see the substance is solid. So means the salt is solid. Whenever you mix the two solutions, like we mix here aqueous sodium carbonate and we mix aqueous copper nitrate. So we are mixing the two solutions. So that is the ionic precipitation. We have to use one of the test tube. We will have aqueous sodium carbonate. Another test tube will have aqueous copper 2 nitrate. We mix them together. When we mix them together, as a result, what will happen? It will form a precipitate. Solid will form. And that solid will be copper carbonate, CuCO3. How we can, so first, what we have to do, we have to mix them together. After mixing them together, we want to remove the solid. So how we can remove the solid? Which technique we'll use to remove the solid from the mixture? So we can use a filtration. So when we use a filtration, the solid, the copper carbonate will left on the filter paper. And then what we do, we usually wash these crystals like to remove any soluble impurities, and then we dry with a tissue paper, or we can place in a hot, like place the salt crystals at a hot place or in an oven to remove any trace of water. So what are the steps we should do? We should mix. Mixing is not given as a first part, but it's like first we should mix the two solutions. As a result, it will form. Then we will filter. Then we will wash and then dry. So D should be the right answer for this. So this was a pop quiz related to Acid, base, and salt. Anyone having a doubt or a question in any part?